Okay, last type of rational numbers, multiplying decimals. Let's think back to 5th grade and how we multiply just decimals in general, no matter what the sign is. We multiply as if they're whole numbers using whatever strategy we are comfortable with. So up in the right-hand corner, standard algorithm, area model, partial products. As long as you have a strategy to multiply, then you're good to go. It doesn't matter which one works for you as long as it works. Step 2 is then we will just remember that because we're working with decimals, we got to place that decimal point correctly in the product as to where it goes. Let's try this first one. 1 and 2/10 times 3. So many different ways you can think about it. You could just think about it as 3 groups of 1 and 2/10 and just add them up together. Or using these steps, let's pretend that they're whole numbers. 1 and 2/10, removing that decimal, that's a 12. Do you see that? Times 3, you might know that fact off the top of your head. And if you do, we'd get 36, right? 12 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 12 is 36. Now, the product isn't really 36, is it? No. How can 1 and 2/10 times 3 be that large of a number? Let's think back. This is tenths right there. So that means tenths times this other number that's just a whole number. My result will be tenths. So the decimal should go here, showing that the product is 3 and 6/10. Checking it, 3 groups of 1 and 2/10. That is 3 and 6/10. Makes sense. Always, as a mathematician, ask yourself, is your answer reasonable? Let's try the next one. Oh, I see. And one's a negative and one's a positive. Are you already thinking about what your product sign will be? I hope so. Let's follow the steps. Use a different color. Let's just pretend it's 45 times 37. Okay. I'm going to use the area model for this, for those of you who might use the area model. Okay, one factor is 45, so that's a 40 and a 5. The other factor is 37, so a 30. Oops, I'm going to reorder that. Sorry about that. That's a 30 and a 7. Okay, multiply the place values together. 40 times 30 is 1,200. 30 groups of 5 goes here, and that's 150. 40 groups of 7, or 40 times 7 is 280. Last box, 7 times 5, 35. It's almost like partial products. These are all of the place value parts, and now I'm going to put them all together. So 1,200, 280, 150, and 35. I'm going to add those pieces together. All the ones, all the tens, so that's 13 and 3 more. And that's 6 and that's 1. Okay, here's my product, but I know the answer is not this large. It's not 1,665. I got to go back to the original problem up here. It's tenths times tenths, and tenths times tenths, right? If I'm thinking about how they're getting smaller and smaller, tenths times tenths is hundredths, because I know 10 times 10 is 100. So if I had tenths pieces times tenths pieces, they're getting so tiny, they're getting into the hundreds. I'm going to want to make sure my product down here is to the hundredths place. So my decimal goes there, 2 spots over. This answer makes way more sense. Okay, so 16 and 65 hundredths is the product to that. The last one, I didn't do a new problem, but I did change the sign. Oh, wait, you guys, I totally forgot. Back to that second problem, a negative times a positive. Look at me, I almost forgot. It's a negative 16 and 65 hundredths. Okay, last one. I already know the product to this is that if they were whole numbers. And now I go back to my rule. Negative times a negative is a positive. So it just equals that. So there's a lot of things to remember. So just do the calculations like normal and then go back and just think about the rules with the negatives and positive signs.